Hi, I'm Dr. Stacey Alexander. Welcome to Season 3 of Goals Don't Have Feelings. I love the opportunity to share with you guys. I'm so glad I'm back for another year. It will be a little different this year, maybe not as much programming with my cohorts, Tasha and Nisha, just because so many things are going on that are quite different, if you will, but they will be on here throughout the season, just not for every episode, especially when I run series like I'm doing this time. This one is called The Emotionality of Politics. I'll get into that a little bit later. This is your third year tuning in for Goals Don't Have Feelings. I appreciate you coming back to continue viewing and engaging in this discussion that I like hosting on the emotionality of success. Why do I talk about that? Because we all have a journey that we must trek in order to get to whatever level of success that we deem, whether it's because of how much money we're earning, if it's because of the relationships we have, or maybe just our status in life. That's where we qualify our success from. But what I do know and what I have helped people actually work through is that journey to success, because rarely does it come without ups and downs. So through this platform, I've been able to talk to people from all different sectors about their emotionality to success, some of the highs and the lows, because you'll get classes for weeks and weeks and weeks that will talk to you about branding your business, accounting needs, your legal needs. The Small Business Association does all of these free classes in order to help you build your business, but rarely do they include the emotionality of it. So that's what this platform is about. If you don't know my background, I'm a licensed professional counselor. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I have a private practice in Dallas. It's called Positive Influences. And then I run the mental health clinic at Paul Quinn College, which is in the southern sector of Dallas. So between those two, I have the opportunity to work with quite a few people to help them actually identify their needs and then manage those needs from a mental health perspective, because we all have needs, but that's my role as a mental health clinician. As well, I've co-authored a book with my husband of 27 years and our 2 adult children. It's called The Balancing Act Family Guide. We have a website for that, or you can go to my main website at www.staceyalexander.com. That's where all of the information that I put out there, if you will, is located. You can find the book. You can find my annual program called August Accountability. You can find archives of this show, the Goals Don't Have Feelings show. So I appreciate you tuning in. 3 years you're returning. I appreciate it. If you're new, please make sure you subscribe to my Facebook page, my YouTube channel, and Instagram. Twitter, I'm on just a little bit, not as much, but also I have a LinkedIn profile for a more professional format, if you will. On this episode, I have Dr. Kristen Guillory. Now, if you don't know her, that's because you're probably not in the speaking world, but she is my speaking coach. And I'll tell you why I invited her on here. The series that I'm running now is The Emotionality of Politics in order to prepare for the election. And I wanted to bring people in from different sectors to really dialogue about how our political climate is impacting them on a professional level. So we'll have different people, not just in politics during this series. We'll have different people from sectors that maybe you wouldn't think about are being impacted by the political climate and what will happen with this election. So I'm not talking parties. I'm not talking political parties, whether someone is a Democrat or Republican. I am actually talking about how this is impacting their professional lives. And maybe we'll get into some personal issues as well. So Dr. Guillory, just a little bit about her. She's a professional coach. She's a professional consultant. She's a speaker and has been doing this professionally for a number of years. I asked her on the show to talk about what politics has meant for the speaker business, because we were going strong up until February and March of 2020. But I know a lot of speakers, myself included, have taken a hit in terms of how much we're booked because everything slowed down. And then I want to talk with her about what happens post-election. So stay tuned. We're going to have a great conversation. I appreciate you guys joining me. If you have not already, start a watch party or invite your friends to this episode of Goals Don't Have Feelings. And the series is The Emotionality of Politics. All righty. So Dr. Guillory, I asked you to join me because I admire your tenacity. during this pandemic, I have continued to watch you as my coach, but also just as someone who's a voice in the speaking arena. So thank you for joining me today. How are you doing?
You know what? I am good. Thank you for having me. I just got back from Atlanta from being on auntie duty. So I'm excited to be here.
I love the auntie duty and all of the pictures that you have. I'm an auntie too, but my nephew is an adult, right? And he, you know what? He hung out with me last week. He came over and I showed him the garden and everything. So we had a good time. So I like being an auntie. And then I found a nephew, found my brother through Ancestry.com. And I know, right? I don't know that we ever talked about that, but that was a pretty good story too. I'll have to tell you the details behind that. But I met that nephew last year. He came through. And it was wonderful. It really was. So I know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a story. That
awesome.
is true. Oh, yeah, it is true. We definitely found some good information out. I can tell you that. Yeah. So you're doing good.
I am. When you said you have your nephew is grown, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to take it. My oldest nephew is 10. He turns 11 next month.
Okay.
I tell him he needs to stop growing up because I can't take it. I need it to stop. So I'm gonna need all the Kleenex in the world. When he get at the graduation and last nephew story, when I got my car in 2012, he was, how old was he in 2012? So he was 2. He was 2 or 3. And my nickname is Ticky. And he said, I like my car, Ticky. And I said, you know what, Jaden, I'm going to have this car that long. It will be yours when you turn 16. He's like 5 years from 16 now. I can't do it. And he won't be able to take that car because I still have it.
Yeah, he can have it. I know it's like you take a breath and they're adults. I mean, it does. It happens really quickly.
Yeah.
And you know what? The same fervor that you have for them, I see it with your coaching students. And I'm an alumni, but we still have our meetings and everything. Yeah. So how have you helped your students navigate this pandemic where, the pandemic is here, race relations are here. We're looking at an election. Like, that's why I asked you to come on the show today. How are you helping your students navigate that process?
Absolutely. So a couple things there. I'll start with the race relations piece. So my clients, the 100% of my one-on-one and group coaching clients are people of color. And I have encouraged them all, if you are requested to be a part of a panel discussion, to speak on anything around race and diversity and equity, you need to charge your fee. Or you need to at least state your fee, because our stories and what we've been through came at a price, and it's priceless. But what's been happening with some people is, hey, would you be a part of a panel, or can we have a listening session with you, which is fine, but there's value to what we do and we have the right to charge. So that's been one thing that I've been sharing with my clients on that end. And so question for you, Doc, have you had any requests on those topics at all over the last, 6-7 months?
Oh yeah, so much so that I finally started declining invitations to Blacksplain. That's what I call it. I just looked up one day and said, I do not want to go on another panel and talk about being Black in the audience, or even where I'm the only minority in the audience, virtually or physically. And you're right, no one was agreeing to my speaker fees. And that could have been part of the drainage, if you will. It was just, really difficult to navigate.
Absolutely. I was invited to be on a panel, and I was the only person of color. I was the only Black person and person of color. Mm-hmm. And I noticed in the midst of all the questions for all the panelists, I had, talking about youth and parents, and then something around diversity and race. And I remember thinking, why was that assigned to me? So I had the conversation with them, and I said, I'm wondering why y'all put that for me. Oh, maybe we found it somewhere on your website or it's on social media. I said, no. You'll find culture, humility, and other things, but how they phrased it, you're not going to find that. And I did encourage them. I said, let me just encourage you to be mindful. Be mindful when you invite a person of color to be on a panel. Don't assume that, number one, they want to talk about race and diversity, and don't assume that they're representing all people who are their race and their ethnicity. And they received it very well. So so that's one encouragement. The other encouragement that I have been offering my clients is a benefit that I didn't know is, as you know, this in the program you were in, I asked y'all to record videos, and I asked y'all to submit them. And so a benefit I've learned from some of my group coaching and one-on-one clients is that in a way you kind of already had some practice in with the virtual people speaking on camera. And I've learned that that's been really helpful. The other thing that I have helped them with the navigation is just because we are virtual doesn't mean there's not still a need to speak. What I've seen too many speakers and trainers do, and I bet you've seen this too, is, oh, I can't wait till we can get in front of people again. What y'all doing? People still need training. They still need encouragement. So for me, I've been saying we just have to pivot and even pushing a little bit more to say maybe there's not an opportunity now. You can create a stage for yourself or reach out to former clients and talk to them, because in the middle of a pandemic, maybe they need what you have, but I'm not thinking about that because we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Right. And, you know, even when talking about the pandemic, not only are we in the middle of a pandemic, we're also in the middle of an election year.
Right.
And I know for me as a business owner in the past, I'm very cautious about spending my money in an election year because you never know how things are going to change afterwards. How are you, what do you think will happen to the speaking field with this election that's coming up?
So I'll be very honest. I think, and this is transparency, whoever is elected, I believe that speaking opportunities are going to triple in 2021.
Okay.
I believe that they're going to triple because we are in this virtual space, and think about all of the events that have been taking place over the last couple of months around election stuff, but they're virtual. There are so many more events going on because we're virtual. Like, hold up, I can do this panel discussion or I can moderate this thing because we really want to talk about it. And it's heavy, right? Like, we're thinking about it a lot. It's impacting all of us. But I do think there will be a triple in speaking opportunities because we've discovered you can have a virtual event and it still be impactful. Virtual events allow you to save a little bit of money, and people are still going to do their face-to-face events, but they're going to say, you know what, one face-to-face and one virtual. So I think there's going to be a huge increase, and there are going to be more voices out there who are going to be sharing how they feel after the election, right? Like, if their candidate wins, there's going to be that road for people. If their chosen candidate loses, there's going to be that track for people. So there's going to be a huge opportunity.
Yeah. And I think about that too. Like you said, what is your reaction to the election? But I also think that there's going to be more focus on being respectful. I think America is going to get to the point where corporations, organizations are going to focus on being respectful. And I also think there's going to be a lot of dialogue around family systems. Like, there's more divorces happening now. There's more domestic violence happening now. More people are understanding what mental health looks like now. So I agree with you. I think that those platforms are going to triple once we come out of the election. And
oh my gosh, I hope so. Oh my goodness, I hope so. And you know what, to that point, I spoke with an executive director of a national organization today who's bringing me in, and they were initially bringing me in, and I'm still going to do it, to do a training on cultural humility. And in a conversation with her today, she said, and this fits exactly with what you just said. She said, would you be willing, I looked in your topics, would you be willing to also lead one on crucial conversations? And the thing around that is, to your point of respect. You can agree to disagree, but it seems a lot lately there's a lot of disagreement and there's a lot of disrespect going on. And she was just like, is there a way you can talk to us about that? To your point about family systems and youth and mental health, 100%, because this year as a world, as you know, we have as a world experienced trauma with so many things, right? There's hard stuff with the election, the pandemic. So as a world, we've experienced trauma, and it may not even come to realization until after the election and then into even 2021 that, you know what, it's not that I didn't perform as best I could or what I wanted. I performed as best I could because I was in the midst of a situation I never expected. And then if you want to compound the social injustices and the shootings, and you know what I mean? And so 100%. So you ready for the opportunities too? Hey.
Of course. I'm like you. I stay ready. But even in staying ready, you also talk fervently to people about self-care.
Oh, yeah.
And so what are you, like 3 tips for self-care for us during this political climate and things that are going on? Like, what are you telling your clients and your students to do?
Absolutely. So the first thing I'm telling people to do is, if needed, take a break from social media. If needed, take a break. And I don't just mean don't log on. If you need to remove the apps from your phone, if you need to snooze, you know, that snooze feature in Facebook, if you need to snooze people for your mental health. I'm not talking about we're mad at people. It's for your mental health. I'm encouraging, if you look at someone's page and there's something in you that brings up some feelings that are not healthy for you, to unfollow or snooze or stay off social media. That's first. The second thing I'm encouraging my clients to do is literally to take time throughout the day to be still and breathe. I had a chat with the client last week. She's a pastor. She works full time. She's a wife. She's a mom. She is in school. And when we were chatting, I paused us and I just said, let's just take 3 minutes. And we closed our eyes. We just breathed. And after the 3 minutes, she was like, oh my gosh, I need to do that every day. So the second thing I'm encouraging people to breathe and be still, And I'd say the third is to be intentional about how we start our mornings.
Okay.
Like, even if it's 15 minutes, don't just go on output mode, because I've been guilty of that.
Yeah.
And that's not good. But just when you wake up, to breathe, or meditate, or pray, or journal, or write affirmations. But those things, although small, they're really significant. So I would say those are the three I would recommend.
I like what you said. Don't just go automatically to output, because what has slowed me down is age and sugar overdosing. Like, those two things combined are the worst thing. So they make me a little bit slower in the morning. But it is so true that you have to stop being focused on output right when you rise for the day. Just really take in where you are. You know, I was reading an article last week, because I talk about and highlight the emotionality of success, that the rate of entrepreneurs, like, let's talk about that, because speakers are truly entrepreneurs. You're marketing yourself. You've taught us the business of speaking. So that's a business that people are running when they decide that they're going to be professional speakers. But in researching, which I constantly do, the emotionality of success, I read a statistic that for entrepreneurs, suicide is a huge risk factor. You coming from a mental health background, I'm coming from a mental health background. We need to speak not only to the entrepreneurs, but also to young people who are trying to, forge their way. Like, what are some tips that you can give them on the emotionality of success? Because, I always like to talk to you about that.
Yes. So the first thing, y'all need to hire Dr. Stacia Alexander to come in and give some coaching. Look, y'all, she didn't ask me to do this, but so Doc, I mean this, because when you first told me about that concept and that phrase, I was like, genius, because it is like, there is emotionality of when you start the business and then it doesn't go the way you want, or maybe things speed up more than you thought, or maybe you're making money that you've never made, and that's overwhelming. Emotion doesn't always have to be I'm sad or angry, right? I don't know. So that's the first thing I would encourage. Hire Doc. But the other couple things, and I was just saying this yesterday with a couple of folks. I 100% recommend coaching. And yes, I'm saying this as a coach, but I'm also saying this as someone who's benefited from coaching and has also watched other people. Here's what I mean by that. If somebody has started a business, or you're starting something new, or they're leaving a business or leaving their job, oh my gosh, number one, you're excited, but then you feel alone. You feel isolated. You feel like you're ready to take over the world, but things don't happen in the 30 days you want them to happen, and you're discouraged. A coach, as one of my clients said, a coach takes you where you cannot get on your own. And it's not just the business type coaching, it's mindset. It's belief system. So I think one thing to do, young people, not young people, entrepreneurs, get a coach. Number two, check your beliefs. And that's big. Like, do you believe that you can do this work? Because one of my clients, Stacey, recently said this. He said, actually, a few have said this. They said, why should somebody pay me to speak? And my response was, then they won't.
Yeah,
because that's
right.
What'd you say? Say that again.
I said, right. Why would they pay you? If you don't believe it, why should they pay you?
Yeah. But so many people think that, why should somebody pay me? And years ago, I might have said no, or why should somebody pay? Why shouldn't they? Right. But no, it's now, then they won't. The belief in who we are and what we offer is so important. Look, you've seen some people on stages And you're like, how are they up there? They're not so great. But I think they just got 15,000. I guarantee you a part of that is the belief. Right. The belief that they are awesome and valuable. So coaching, the belief in who you are. And the number 3 for me as an entrepreneur, just to offer to anyone who's taken a step in some capacity, is to surrender the when and surrender the how. What I mean by that is, if you know, like Stacey, if we know we're meant to be speakers and we're meant to encourage people in this way, that's the what, right? Like we know I'm going to do this, but the when, if I'm so focused on that it should happen in 30 days and it doesn't happen, I'm potentially going to experience depression. And then the how, if I think it's supposed to be for universities or school districts and it doesn't happen, then I'm upset. So literally trust that, no, this is my gift. This is my talent. I need to do the work. I need to go on this path, but surrendering the when and the how would have personally saved me some pain that I experienced in 2017, 2016 from being on this journey, because I was so focused on one thing, and I needed to surrender the when and the how.
And I was wondering that, like, for your ups and downs, and that's one of them, you said, had you embraced that concept in 2016, 2017, you would have probably avoided quite a few shortfalls. Yeah. Anything else that you want to share on your journey to success? Because I tell people, it's not without ups and downs. Like we see you on your highs, but how did you overcome some of your lows?
Oh my goodness. Okay. That's a good question. So I'll give the very long story short. So I was a professor and I left my job, or I was led. This is just the truth. The Lord led me to leave my job at the end of, or August of 2014. I left my job and I'm thinking, okay, boom, you want me to do all these things around speaking and training. And the Lord was like, I didn't tell you to do that. I just told you to leave and trust me. So things weren't happening the way I wanted them to happen. I go to the Dominican Republic. I'm there the next year in August. I'm in the middle of the ocean. Only me will be in the middle of the ocean with deep experiences. And I clearly heard the Lord say, while you're so busy pursuing your purpose, make sure you're pursuing me. Stacey, I said, you couldn't have told me that when I had a job.
Repeat that.
Okay. He said, while you're so busy pursuing your purpose, make sure you are pursuing me.
Okay. That's the sound bite.
Boom. Get it?
Yeah. That's serious. Right. Because, but think about it. Let me not shoot my trail back. Everything is on point. Because that's a balance. That's a balance. And I've like when I've taught Sunday school and I've mentored other women, I tell them the more intelligent you are, the harder it is to succumb, because you get to thinking about all of this stuff, all of these things. And so repeat it again.
Absolutely. While you're so busy pursuing your purpose, make sure you are pursuing me.
And that is the balance. We could really close it out right there, because that's what people need to understand. And even for me, that's a reminder. When you twist and turn, Lord, what's next? Let me call my coach. Let me talk to my husband. Let me call my girlfriends. Am I pursuing you? Like, is that where the imbalance is? That's powerful.
And that's where it is. So that's the reason my 2016 was starting off great. 2017, let me think. So I experienced depression at the end of 2016 due to the journey. And I'm not blaming the journey, but I had so many expectations. Like I thought my consulting firm would be making this amount by now. I thought this. So fast forward to the beginning of 2018, I was at the lowest amount of money I have ever had since the age of 18. There were 3 contracts fell through, a big check I was supposed to get hadn't come. I was ready to quit. Let me tell you, I was ready to be done. And what got me was, so the most significant things for me on this journey was, one, in the ocean, while you're so busy pursuing your purpose, make sure you're pursuing me. The next one was March. I think it was March of 2018. I was supposed to get that big check. It didn't come. And so look, Stacey, I don't curse, I might curse to myself, but I don't publicly curse. I cursed out the Lord. And
really? Oh, did you really?
I did. I was, Lord, I don't want to do this anymore. What the F are you doing? I mean, I was so, it was such an out of body experience that when I was done, the first thing I said was, what did I just do, Lord? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Right. And then the next thing I said was, I don't ever want to feel that way about money again.
Right.
Like, I don't ever want to make money an idol. And we can make it an idol whether we have a lot or a little. And that's what I did. And although my financial situation the next day didn't change, how I felt changed, my perspective changed, and all of that. And the end of 2018 was great. And it's not even about talking about money, but 2019 was my highest earning income year of my life. And it was like, oh, Lord, that's what we're doing. He was like, I told you to let go. You know, so anyway, there's so much, you know what I mean? Like, there's so much in this. I just needed to surrender and let go and trust him and stop leaning on what I thought I knew. To your point of intelligent folks, and we think we know a lot, right? On our stuff a little too much, and that is dangerous. It is. It's really dangerous.
It is. It's very dangerous. And even, you know, really putting it in context, when you come from a situation where let's see, total transparency. You come from a beginning where you constantly made sure that you were taken care of because the people who were responsible for taking care of you fell short, right? And so in order for you to surrender and say, Lord, I'm going to trust you, when your background said, girl, you better get up, and would you be focused on those outcomes at the beginning of the day because you know you're going to be too tired at the end of the day. Like, that's a powerful statement to say. While you're pursuing your dreams, make sure you pursue me first. Like, your goals are important, right? But at the end of the day, your soul, your salvation, and who you are in my perspective, not the world's, not what you are in the world's perspective, but who you are to me is what's more important. So I appreciate you sharing that. Absolutely. And you know, there's a lot of, I mean, yeah, we could go on about that. I'm really serious, like, because entrepreneurs are so caught up in the bottom line. Especially if you're providing for a family, when you think about people who are providing for a family and they're really having to look at the finances every day, that's pretty heavy.
And it's hard. I mean, it is. It's hard. And so I get it. I get looking there, but he's like, trust me. Ephesians 3:20, in my opinion, you know, is one of the most quoted scriptures, specifically in the Black church. The Lord can do exceedingly abundantly above all. Another translation is the Lord can do more than we can ask or imagine. And it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I remember hearing the scripture in a different way and thought, so we say it,
but do we believe it? Yeah. You know, yeah.
But do we believe it? And so I started praying for his more. Like, yes, Lord, here's my goals and visions and affirmations. And but I'm still limited in what I know and I've seen and I've experienced. And so I desire your more. And I don't mean more as in money, but we have the right to want money, right? There's nothing wrong with it. But it's been that journey of just trusting and being okay when great things happen and celebrating those, but also not doing, it's all the stuff and not doing the journey alone. So I would say surrendering, making sure I'm pursuing the Lord, and then not going on this journey by myself. Here's the thing. How was I going to take myself to where I'm trying to go if I've never been to that place? So I need the Lord, and then I need some coaching or a mentor, you know?
Yeah. I appreciate you being open to sharing and being transparent about it, because I don't think we have these conversations enough. I'll repeatedly say that, but for people to be able to look inside and say, oh, okay, this is where Dr. G is coming from when she shares with people and she coaches and she's built this business, that it's not without its ups and downs every time. And when we're in the midst of a really tumultuous election year, all of us have to be concerned about financially, you know, what are we going to do after the election? So I appreciate you giving entrepreneurs and speakers some tips on, no, you really need to saddle up and get ready for post-election. Whatever the outcomes are, you need to get your information together. And for people who are looking to us to bring the information, please be prepared to compensate us, because we are working just like you all are. So you want to give that little look. Like,
and especially look, like here. So here's one of my soapbox statements. I have many, especially to get women of color on stages, specifically Black women. Look, there are so few Black women invited to keynote big events. I don't mean women's events, but if you take a look and notice flyers of huge events and 20 and 30 people, you will very rarely see a Black woman on that flyer. So one of my things is, yes, I want to equip everybody, but specifically my women of color, my Black women, and getting on stages, or I'll help you create one. So, and to your point, there are going to be so many opportunities. And if you are in a hiring position, folks, you need to be prepared not only to pay, but pay her rate. And not question it and not ask her to go over hurdles, as I've been asked to go over hurdles when I learned that the men who were invited to speak had no hurdles at all. Lit. But I'm grateful that I had advocates who were part of that committee who pushed for me to be there when the VP and other leaders were like, yeah, that's too much money for her. Lit.
Yeah, one thing that I have delicately done assertively is when I see a headliner and there's no one of color, then I will send some type of correspondence to the event planners and say, hey, what's going on? Do you not think these would be, any professionals in this area or whatever? So we can record that for another episode.
We will. I've done that too.
So, okay. So tell everybody where to find you. You're pretty vocal on social media. So tell everyone where to find you.
Absolutely. So y'all can find me on Instagram at Dr. G Speaks, DRG Speaks, Facebook, my name, Kristen Guillory, Kristen Guillory. And I check those. So message me, follow, would love to support in any way.
And you're on LinkedIn too?
I am on LinkedIn. Absolutely. On LinkedIn a lot.
Are you on Twitter? I don't get on Twitter.
I'm not on Twitter.
Okay. Yeah. Just like I can't keep up with Twitter. I have an account, but I can't keep up.
I have an account. No, not on Twitter. I realize that's okay. So I thrive well in these spaces.
You do well. Yeah. So I appreciate you coming on. It's been great. I think this will be, as we talk about this election year coming up, this is going to be very interesting for all sectors of life. Everybody is going to feel the response from this.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now you all see why I love her so much and why we have gotten along so well with her as my speaker coach. I spoke to quite a few people about being my coach, and I'm not ashamed to say that I have a coach. Over the years, I've developed my speaking skills through varying programs, but I needed to understand the business of speaking, and she is the right woman. I will repeatedly refer people to her. Like when they say, can you be my mentor? Can you train me? Not for speaking, but I can tell you who you should go to because I highly respect what she's built. What I appreciate about her coming on here tonight is her transparency, and I hope that you guys benefited from that as well. Again, thank you for joining me. This is Dr. Stacey Alexander, your host of Goals Don't Have Feelings. We're talking about in this series, the emotionality of politics. So make sure you join us for the next installment. I'll have another great guest, and I look forward to the engagement. So if you have questions after this live has premiered, please put those questions in the chat. I continue to monitor any type of social media platforms that I have. And remember, go like my Facebook page, YouTube channel, and the Instagram and LinkedIn. And then you can follow everything that I put out there. You guys take care. See you soon.